Hello there, guys, and welcome back to Bright Founders Talk from Temi, an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Our next guest on the show today, guys, we've got Simon Haines, CEO of Simply Get Results. Simon's been on this journey now for over 9 years. So one of the first questions which I want to put to Simon before we go into the world of who is Simon, when do you stop being a startup? 9 years. When does it stop being a startup?
Well, that's a great question. I don't think so, really. I think that the elements of startupness, which include solving new problems, innovating, breaking new ground, listening very hard to customers, monitoring the market carefully, figuring out your differentiations, and so on, that doesn't stop. I think that there are, I'm sure, no doubt, plenty of organizations that settle down, but I think settling down requires your market to be settling down to some extent. And I just happen to be in one of those markets that is turbulent and fast-moving and exciting. So probably maintaining that mentality is important.
Okay, interesting. So turbulent, fast-moving, and exciting. Simon, what excites you about a turbulent, fast-moving market? I mean, that would threaten and make many people go running. What makes you stay in the market?
Well, it also has its challenges. However, to answer your question about what's so positive and exciting about it, I mean, I've been in some version
sounds quite daunting to me.
True. And you know, there's certainly an element of running a business that is daunting and should be seen that way. But look, in terms of an aggressively moving market, I've been in the human capital market, if I can call it that, for forever, for 25 odd years. And so I've seen trends come and go. I've seen trends get huge and become mainstream. And where I'm at the moment is probably the most fast moving and aggressive and volatile market I'd ever seen. So actually needing a combination of that history and that track record to understand how markets can evolve, plus that sort of ability to adapt and face into the here and now. Those are probably two things that are required right now.
Really interesting. We're going to get into this further in the show. I want to hear about the challenges, and especially the challenges which you've faced over the last 9 years, how they've evolved, how the market has evolved. But before we do, Simon, what I want to do, I'd like to get to know the person behind the machine a little bit more. So, Simon, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Simon? What do you represent?
For 25 odd years, starting in the 90s, my career really has 3 chunks. I started out in high technology and HR technology, and built a series of businesses that were HR technology and consultancy focused. I then spent 9 years at Deloitte, and I did one thing there, which is to build from nothing what became an international people analytics business. And then I set up Simply in 2014 to take all of that experience and sort of do it my way and productize some of that and still serve the large corporate market, but offer them some alternatives to very large scale consultancy companies. Who we now partner with, by the way. So who's the person behind all that? I guess one of the things I discovered along the way is I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've been building businesses within corporations, realized that I've never done that under my own banner. And so took the brave or daft move of stepping out of a very secure corporate environment. And as I like to say, going into an empty room and starting to create the future, which is how you have to do it when you're genuinely innovating. And, winning customers, building an incredible team, building wonderful products, it all started from there.
We're definitely going to get into that a little bit more about your time at Deloitte and obviously taking that step into the world of entrepreneurship. Really interesting for me and our listeners. But before we do, just for our listeners listening now, tell us a little bit about Simply. What is Simply's mission?
Simply Get Results, simplygetresults.com if you're looking it up. Our mission is to right skill every workforce. What do we mean by that? Firstly, we serve the large corporate markets. These are big corporations that you've heard of across industries around the world, big brand name organizations employing thousands, often tens of thousands of people. And because the demand for skills has changed so much, particularly over the last few years, every organization, every team, every worker to some extent has a mismatch between the skills they have today and the skills they're likely to need next year and the year after that. So we call sorting all of that out right skilling. So our mission is to help these big companies and every employee within them have the right skills for the future.
Tell me a little bit, sorry, I've got a little bit of a cough it seems today. Simon, tell me a little bit about this right scaling. Where did this idea, this concept come from? Was this many years of working in Deloitte and all the industries before, or was it something that you decided when you were building Simply Get Results?
Well, we started out, so we've always been a people analytics business. So that's using data from our customers, from these large corporations, data on their people to help make the decisions that matter most. A few years ago, we added something very important to that data set. We added global external market data. That's every hire that every company is trying to make, every CV that every applicant is trying to submit. Imagine all of that goes into the internet and comes to us via our fantastic data partners that we work with. So where did right skilling come from? We found ourselves with the world's best database on skills just when the world was freaking out somewhat about skills because of COVID, because of digitization, because of, competition and so on. So we found ourselves in the middle of all of that going, okay, we are absolute experts in serving the large corporate market, helping senior HR and business leaders to make important decisions and to make those decisions using data and insight provided from our software. We're experts in this. Find ourselves with this incredible skills database, just as the world cares about skills. All right, we're going to lean into that. Now, we were experimenting because the data set was new to us. The situation was new to everybody. So we were experimenting. And as we were doing that experimenting, we found that we could solve some really important problems for our customers. And as we started asking ourselves, what banner do we put around that? We said, well, what's it really about? Let's just say in plain English, what is this really about? It's about getting the skills right. At a corporate level, at a workforce level, at an individual level, it's about getting your skills right. What are we going to call that? Right skilling. Now, we didn't invent the term, but it wasn't owned by anybody else either. It had been rattling around a little bit, and we thought, okay, let's try that. Let's see what happens. And like any, tagline or brand name or whatever, Marmite to some extent, loads of people love it and go, I get it, right skilling, fantastic. Some people say, yeah, but I don't know what it means, in which case, great, let's have a conversation. By the way, the clue's in the title. Right skilling's about having
Absolutely. Simon, tell me a little bit more about, obviously, 9 years you've been at Simply Get Results, and how has the market has evolved incredibly over the last 9 years, and you've even said the challenges, and you have to stay on top of those challenges. What has been that biggest moment for you, which was oh crap, we need to make some, kind of changes here and get on top of this before it gets on top of us?
Forgive, spoiler alert, there's going to be an obvious answer here. So we were moving organically, growing, using our experience, using our expertise, innovating to fill gaps, innovating to compete. And all of that for the first few years went extremely well. And guess what happened? A thing called COVID. And when COVID landed, big corporations stopped spending money. And so we weren't the only organization that was impacted by that. But we were absolutely flattened by that because all of our customers were big corporations who say, we don't know what's going on. We need to stop spending money. We need to retrench. We need to regroup. So that really, really hurt. But like any good entrepreneurial organization, this certainly was not just down to me. This was my co-founder, John, the team around us. We took the opportunity to pivot. Faced by all of this challenge, we couldn't have just dug in, stuck to our guns, stay with what we do. But we took the opportunity to try something new that had always been on our roadmap, pulling in this external data. And we did that. So if you like, in the eye of the storm, we started figuring out some new stuff. We already had everything that we'd been building for the past few years, but we added to that. And then we took a look around and said, how useful is this? And it turned out it was the right stuff at the right time.
Brave thing to do. How do you get that bravery to do something like that? Is it trust within your team, trust within yourself?
I'm going to call this out absolutely from my team and name check again, John Guy, my co-founder. We had, I think, different approaches to the crisis we were in, frankly. And mine was to sit and to research and to analyze and to try to figure out, what we might be doing next, as well as the obvious things to do around looking after the team, cash control, managing customers, etc. All of the operational stuff really important. And John was looking in a different direction. He was very much partnering me on all of that stuff. But he was the one that came up with, hey, look, he'd been looking at the market in terms of data providers, started to find organizations we could potentially work with and set up some fantastic deals. So really it was, I guess, two people that complementary and slightly different ideas, using both of the, bringing them together.
Okay, nice. Absolutely. Simon, in regards to obviously work with major corporations, you've got such as GSK, McDonald's, HSBC, many others. What challenges do you often encounter in implementing your kind of data-driven strategies, and how are you overcoming them?
The world has woken up to being data-driven is a good thing, so we don't have to sell that. That's for sure. Did a while ago, but being data-driven, yeah, the world wants to be data-driven. Large corporations want to be data-driven. We work with HR and business leaders, and each person we work with, each team we work with, has a slightly different attitude to, what experience do they have with data, what they mean by being data-driven, what confidence do they have, and so on. So we have to face each of our customers. We have to meet them where they are. And so it's not a challenge. It's an important part of our job, is understanding exactly where the customers are. Also, the work we do, it's a team sport. There's not just an individual that will work with one person in one of these companies. We're working with multiple roles, multiple stakeholders with multiple needs. And so actually just bringing that team together, really understanding them, helping them understand how we can help them, and then, delivering success for them. So, I would kind of boil that all down to customer success, taking a really listening and consultative and supportive approach to helping the customer from where they actually are to where they actually want to get to, as opposed to just implementing something that is boilerplate or standard. Yes, we have a whole bunch of fantastic standard, ready to go data, tool and approaches, but we're going to flex that around the customer because that's what they need.
Listening. Absolutely. Is that something, obviously, you've learned over your 25 years of experience in the industry? Is that kind of knowledge you've learned? Or is that kind of, what is that? Is that kind of experience? Do you have to experience that to understand that?
I'm a product, I guess, of my upbringing and my corporate upbringing and my consultancy-led upbringing. I'm a, if you like, a natural consultant in that I like to collaborate, I like to solve problems, I like to help, I like to make new ground. So I find all of this very natural and enjoyable. But I've been doing it for a long time. So when I and John and others in our team turn up to face a customer and we do it with that sort of listening, consultative approach, we get incredible feedback. So, you're different from the other guys. Because we don't turn up and say, hey, we've got amazing software and data, we'd like to sell it to you. Sure, that's in the background. We turn up listening and asking. And look, the reason our company is called Simply Get Results is because that's what we are here for. What are the results the company want, the client, the customer, and how can we get them there as simply and quickly and cheaply, ideally, as possible?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just kind of that robotic approach. It's a different approach to every kind of client. Tell me a little bit more. You said there about, obviously, your past in more kind of analytical work as well. Tell me, with regards to I think you said 9 years in Deloitte. With 9 years in Deloitte, what kind of skills and experience did that give you in order for you to be able to become an entrepreneur, the best entrepreneur that you can become? What were the skills that you learned at Deloitte? And is it, you hear with these big names, Deloitte and all of the others, is it as important as it seems to work for a company like that? Do they give you, the skills which you can't really find in any other places?
Look, I think there's two parts to this. I think there's some innate stuff within the individual versus some stuff that you can be trained, no matter who you are or what your preferences are. So starting with the latter, the training you get in these big consultancy firms is incredible. It's second to none. Also, you're working with the biggest brands in the world, the most demanding customers in a good way. Trying to break new ground. Or wherever possible. Certainly, this is my attitude to things, and you have this opportunity to be the best in the world of what you're doing. So the training and support and the guidance and the experience you get around that in these big consultancy firms is incredible. My experience there was fantastic. Why people go from consultancy onto so many other different things. But the flip side of that is what I had inside me, which may or may not apply to everybody else. So when I turned up at Deloitte and start talking about analytics and people analytics, the message I got was, well, no, actually, that's not what we do. Here's what we do. And I had to be that awkward person that in the face of, very senior people saying, I don't think there's a market for this, the first people joining my team saying, I'm not sure there's enough for both of us. I had to be the person that says, well, you could be right. However, what I'd really like to do, I'm being more polite. However, what I'd really like to do is I'd really like to do this. Let's try it. And what that means is on top of the day job, you're then creating this alternative future. And you've got to want to do that. If you don't want to do that, all the forces say, don't do that. Stay in your box, do the project you've been given, take your money and move on to the next one. And, so yeah, there's an awkwardness inside me, but it's that entrepreneurial spirit, and that's that desire to be different, better, and lead the market that says, yeah, but maybe we could do it. And with that comes an attitude to risk that is different to the classic corporate environment, which tends to be risk averse. So, I think the balance of risk taking and innovation has changed in the last few years in the corporate environment, and there's more innovation going on, that's for sure. But when I was doing this, 15 plus years ago, this was not the norm. So I had to have that awkwardness within me, I think, to lead this forward.
Sure. Tell me more about that. So is it something, you said you were having to do at the same time? You were getting your full-time pay at Deloitte, and you were doing this kind of side project at this time, hoping that it would turn into something. What is the kind of a correct approach in your kind of mindset? I mean, I hear people say that you've just got to put everything in it and cancel that job, leave that job and put all your time and heart into it. If it doesn't work, you can find another job. If you do a side hustle, sometimes, you're not putting enough time into it, enough energy. Mm. What is kind of the correct approach? Are you happy that you took that approach? Would you have taken the other approach?
I recognize everything you're saying, and I think in my opinion, there's certainly no black and white answer. I think there's a couple of options that might be right depending on who you are and to some extent where you are in your life. So, one of the important factors here is that, I'm the major breadwinner in our household, not the only one, but, married with kids, and my wife and I both work. But actually, I have to make an important contribution to paying the mortgage and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not in a position to be able to say, I'm going to throw everything at this, and if it fails, then, don't care. So the financial element of running a business, whether it's, a business within a corporation, like when I was back at Deloitte and other companies, or whether it's your own business, you got to have a baseline that says, can I pay my bills? Can I pay the rent? And actually that balance of, winning customers, building a team, paying the bills, paying your own bills, paying the team, paying your partners and all the rest of it, that's a delicate balance. So I think there's absolutely room in the world, and you see people being very successful by just saying, don't care, I'm abandoning everything else. I'm going to, whether they time box it, I would strongly suggest they time box it. I'm going to put 12 months and, £50,000 into something. That's a way of doing it. My approach, certainly stepping out of the corporate world and into running my own company, was a bit more organic than that. I need my first customer, I need my second customer, I can then hire the next person, I can then build some more software. Primarily a bootstrapped approach. Did a little bit of fundraising along the way, which is really important, but really it's that sort of balance of innovation and keeping the business afloat that's kept us going.
And where were you, Simon, when you took that decision to resign from Deloitte? Where were you? Were you at the first customer, second customer? How far in were you?
No, I mean, what I did, and I think this was the right move, is I, through a client who'd become a friend, who was a long-term client, who was looking for someone like me to do something for her, I took an interim role. And I was able, therefore, to step out of Deloitte into the interim role, do that 3-4 days a week, get it off the ground. And by the time the interim role was finished, had the first customer or two. And
amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Simon, tell me in more regards to the future of people analytics. You were saying at the beginning that you have to be on top of it completely. What do you predict over the next, let's say 2024? Do you see a big difference in people analytics in 2024?
How long have we've come 20 odd minutes into this conversation, and I'm now going to use the two letters that everybody's using right now, which is to recognize AI and generative AI and the hysteria that's creating. So firstly, that hysteria will evolve into some more certainty and some more clarity, because if you look at, any big innovation or disruption, as time passes, hysteria is replaced with understanding and things start to settle down. Mm-hmm. What degree and in which order that's going to happen, I certainly don't know. There's plenty of good people looking at that in the world, but generative AI is going to evolve. Alongside that, the market that we face is all about skills, and the market for big corporations, individuals, leaders, asking about skills, thinking about skills, and taking action around skills. Mm-hmm. That also has to settle down a little bit, because it's primarily a market of complexity and quite a lot of confusion. And it's part of our job and others like us to help just settle that down in terms of, well, don't be confused. Yes, it's complex, but here's a path you can go on. People analytics specifically in the middle of that, gosh, I mean, going to more and more conferences and meeting more and more great people running people analytics teams. So the maturing of that discipline has been going on for a while right now. And it's really, quite a mature, quite a solid discipline that I think will probably just continue in that direction.
Interesting. Absolutely. AI, I mean, it's not even at its peak, nowhere near it. But the hysteria, it is obviously calming down now. I mean, once ChatGPT came out at the beginning, there was huge hysteria at the beginning, isn't there? But a lot more kind of people just adapting to it and seeing how they can use it to evolve their business and lives. Simon, tell me, in regards to your personal future, I always ask this question before I finish the podcast and the episode. What do you want your legacy to be, Simon? What would you like your legacy to be? What would you like Simply Get Results' legacy to be?
Gosh, it sounds, so certainly no one's ever asked me that, I don't think. And legacy sounds like a really big, important word.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but if I allow myself to think about a version of that, there's a few things. So firstly, in terms of how we face our customers, we pride ourselves on, living the promise of we genuinely exist to help you. So I hope lots of people in lots of organization, look back at the contribution my team, Simply Get Results has had for them and said, yeah, do you know what? They really helped us get somewhere that we wanted to get to and perhaps wouldn't otherwise have got to. If I take a complete flip side of that, one of the things that I love about running a business is the ability to employ people, give them meaningful work and help to develop their careers. And, we take on lots of young people at the start of their careers as undergraduates and interns and sandwich students and graduates, pull on people from different backgrounds. So we aim to be extremely inclusive. We employ women returning from work after maternity and so on. So having been a good employer or perhaps a great employer, I think would be an important part of the legacy too. And in between that, the customers and the team is the stuff that we're building and the stuff that we're doing. I'm desperately proud of it. And I, would like to think that some other people would look at it and go, yeah, do you know what? They came up with some really good and useful stuff.
Absolutely. And in regards to Simply Get Results, what would you like the parting thought to be for our listeners?
That's a great question. I mean, if the audience is largely people, thinking about or actually stepping into the world of, startups and growth and entrepreneurial, easy for me to say, being an entrepreneur. What do I want them to think about Simply Get Results? Hopefully as a good example of an organization and a team that set out with some ridiculously bold ambitions because, we serve the very large corporate market, brand name clients, the most discerning buyers. And we've done that without a famous brand around us and without the benefit of stacks and stacks of money. And we've succeeded. We do great work for great people. So I guess it's that can be done. And again, if you allow me a flip side, in the background, it's super hard. And boy, do I wish I had known the things I know now when I was starting on this, but I didn't.
Of course.
And that's not unusual for entrepreneurs. You have that attitude to risk that says, I'm going to step in, I'm going to be okay, I'm smart, I'm adaptable, I'll figure it out. And all of those things are true and necessary. But there's also some things that it would be extremely useful to know before you go along your journey. So I think anybody that's, early in this journey or thinking about it or wherever you are in your journey, is just to have the right help around you, the right advice, the right support, because boy, is that worth it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Simon. So great to have you on. Simon Haines, CEO at Simply Get Results. Thank you, Simon.
Pleasure. Thank you.